Hey, vinyl community. I'm gonna say right off the top that I apologize if there's a lot of sniffling and coughing. If you saw my last video, I was sick in that video, and I'm kind of even worse now. So I kind of wanted to get that out of the way. Um, what I'm doing today is something I don't normally do. I'm doing a contest submission for one Billy Hurst, and I don't normally do these. Like I said, I had to look through my videos, and I've only done two in the past. One for, I believe, Andy's Vinyl Den, a long time ago, and I've done one for Billy Hurst in the past. And I never want anyone, having said that, I never want anyone to take offense that I don't participate in your contest. There's lots and lots and lots of contests, and I always have good intentions. It's a time thing that, on top of doing my videos and then like life in general, I find it very hard to participate. So like I said, I never want anyone to be offended. But Billy Hurst, I'm making an exception for Billy because Billy, I believe, is the first person that reached out to me, or I reached out to him, or however it was. We're friends on Facebook, and we talk every now and again on Messenger. Billy is celebrating a birthday, and I wished him a happy birthday on his birthday. So I'm going to wish Billy another happy birthday, happy 44th. And he's celebrating 500 subs. So once again, this is just an excuse to take more drinks of coffee, Billy. Sorry. All right. So congratulations, Billy, on your birthday and celebrating your 500th sub. So Billy has a contest, and there's a little bit involved, and he's inviting you to kind of talk. So for those of you who think I kind of ramble on, he's inviting us to talk about albums. So there's really kind of two questions, and then there's a bonus question. So, like I said, Billy is celebrating his birthday. He was born in 1974. So, Billy, I'm older than you. What the fuck? Another reason to feel depressed. Anyways, Billy wants you, to anyone who is participating, to pick your 4 favorite albums from his birth year, being 1974. So, I had to hit the good old Google, and I found 4 albums that I think are representative of things that I really do love from his birth year. So let me grab those really quick. All right, 1974. Man, between my birth year and your birth year, I cannot believe the albums that came out. It's maybe the best stretch of music I've ever, like having Googled all this. It's maybe the best stretch of years I've ever seen for albums. It's absolutely amazing. So I'm going to start with this, Billy. One of my all-time favorite bands, and a band that doesn't get talked about enough on the vinyl community, I don't believe, is one Blue Oyster Cult. This is Secret Treaties. One of my favorite Blue Oyster Cult albums, Harvester of Eyes and Astronomy, and Courier of Evil, and Subhuman, Dominance and Submission, and or ME262, or Me262, however you want to pronounce it. Anyways, Blue Oyster Cult, Secret Treaties, from 1974, one of my favorite albums from that year. Okay. Totally on the other end of the spectrum is the second Big Star album, called Radio City. Some people might argue this, but I think this is their finest album overall. By this time, Chris Bell, the co-founder of Big Star, left Alex Chilton to make this kind of ostensibly a solo album under the name Big Star. If you've not heard this album, or if you've not heard Big Star, shame on you. Some of the best rock and roll to come out of the early 70s. Anyways, not to blabber on too much, Billy, but Big Star, Radio City from 1974, their second album. What else we got here? Well, I mean, come on. Queen 2, 1974, if I can get the glare off of there. What an iconic album cover. But 1974 is Queen's 2, and I mean, I don't know if I really need to talk much more about this album, but my favorite song off this album, The March of the Black Queen, and obviously Seven Seas of Rye, which I believe was the song that kind of broke the band. But yeah, March of the Black Queen, maybe my favorite song off Queen 2. So anyways, my third pick, Billy, Queen 2 from 1974. And a band you'll see a little bit later as well. Yes, Relayer from 1974. Yes, really, between 71 and 74, I cannot believe this. I mean, this is back to the era when bands were releasing multiple albums a year. And if I'm not mistaken, Kiss had 3 albums in just over a year in around 74, 75, and around there. And this is where it's like, so if you look on, top albums from a certain year, there's bands that have like 2 albums of the same year, in the same year, and they're both like classic albums. And nowadays, you have to wait 9 years between albums. Because, nowadays you have to tour your ass off to make the money that you're not making off album sales. But anyways, Yes, Relayer from 1974, one of my favorite Yes albums. So that's Billy, I could have picked another 25 more. But I kind of wanted to pick some things that maybe... throughout this video, you're going to see a lot of things that you may not know of me, or a lot of people watching this video might not know of me, because I'm so all over the place. I think it might be a bit difficult for people to kind of, peg me for something, which is kind of good. I never want to be pigeonholed. But I'm going to talk about some stuff that might be a little bit outside of what people know me for, which who knows what that is. The next question is... pick 4 albums from my birth year. And I just answered this on that vinyl tag. So I want to be a little bit different. Something might repeat, I'm not sure. But I wanted to pick 4 different albums. I believe these might be different. But I was born in 1971. And I know what you're thinking. I know, I look 25. When you get to be my age, you need to pander as much as possible to get compliments that you don't look 47. Well, how am I? I'm 46. Actually, I'm going to be 47 next month. Fuck. See, the mind goes too. Anyways, I'm going to pick... I picked 4 out. I might have picked more than 4, Billy. But I'll be quick. I won't blabber on too much. Another Yes album. Yes, Fragile from 1971. Arguably their finest album with Close to the Edge. I really gotta censor myself, or this video. This will be like an hour-long response video, and I'll be disqualified automatically. Golden Earring, 7 Tears. I've talked enough about Golden Earring. I'm done preaching to the masses about Golden Earring. This is maybe my favorite Golden Earring album, 7 Tears from 1971. Genesis, Nursery Crime. Probably... I have a few favorite Genesis albums, and my top 3 Genesis albums wouldn't include The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, oddly enough. This would be in my top 3 Genesis albums, Nursery Crime. Probably along with Selling England by the Pound and Foxtrot. Anyways, Nursery Crime, Genesis from 1971. An album that I don't know if I've talked about, but it's absolutely one of the most stunning albums you'll ever hear for its chosen genre. And I don't even know if it has a genre. It's just absolutely amazing album. It's Santana's 3rd album. And I don't even know how to describe this album. It's kind of like that early 70s Santana sound, Abraxas. It's just all over the place, and everything about it is awesome. If you've not heard the 3rd Santana album, and I think it's just called Santana, oddly, but it's the 3rd album they released. Do yourself a favor. I'm gonna hopefully pay someone the gift that someone paid me by recommending this album. Have a listen. This album is not like that later Santana, like Smooth with Rob Thomas. Is that what it's called? Yes. You know what I'm talking about. This is vintage Santana from that, man, this period is just incredible. Anyways, one more. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Allman Brothers. Live at the Fillmore, one of the greatest live albums of all time. The 22-minute version of Whipping Post is a sight to behold and to hear. Just absolutely. That version of Whipping Post is maybe one of the penultimate live events ever recorded in the 70s. That's my opinion. Anyways, Allman Brothers, live at the Fillmore East. What an amazing album. All right, this is the bonus question time. You get bonus entries. And by the way, if you're not familiar with Billy Hurst, subscribe. And then if you want to enter the contest, enter the contest. And you can watch his contest video and see what it's all about. Or you can just kind of copy the questions off me, but you have to be a subscriber. And you get bonus points if you answer this question. Show 4 of your favorite country albums. Billy Hurst is kind of pegged as the country guy by his own admission, but he is a hell of a lot more than that. I hate for anyone to get pegged as anything in particular because it kind of paints you in a corner, and I think that limits the audience you get from on YouTube. To be honest with you, if you get pegged as the psych guy, the country guy, the metal guy, Billy is a lot more than country. If you watch his videos, the guy is all over the map, which I absolutely love. And one of the greatest things I love about Billy, he is never ashamed to tell you what he likes. And I think that's not a common trait among people in the vinyl community, because I'm generalizing now, of course. But there's always a want to show things that play well to the audience, and to kind of show things that are popular. But Billy just hangs it all out there, so to speak. And the things that he fesses up to liking, I don't believe in guilty pleasures. I think I said that in my tag video. So yeah, I really respect that about Billy. If he likes it, he shows it, and he doesn't give a shit what anyone thinks, man. And I totally respect that. Billy's right on with me. All right, Billy, I'm going to do the country thing. 2 things are mine, and 2 things are my old man's, my late father, who, I've said this before, the greatest influence of my life. I grew up with country. I grew up with the Glenn Campbell Good Time Hour. Was that what it's called? I grew up with that. I grew up with Hee Haw, that Glenn Campbell variety show. I grew up with all that, but my dad was also into, the man was amazing. He was into Talking Heads and Motorhead and the Stones and all that stuff, and he loved all that stuff. And without my dad, I don't know if I'd be here making these videos. I don't know if I would have spent 2 decades in the music retail business. So, a couple things are my dad's. And in paying respect to my dad, I'm wearing one of his t-shirts. This t-shirt I bought for him when I went to New York, and I proposed to my wife in New York City. And then I visited the 9/11 Twin Towers site, and I supported the cause and bought my dad a firefighter shirt. And when he passed away, I kind of liberated some of his clothing that I would wear in tribute to my dad. A couple things here. There's 2 full-length LPs and there's 2 7 singles. My dad loved the Highwaymen. This is their first single, I believe. It's just called The Highwaymen. And when my dad first learned of The Highwaymen, it's like his brain exploded. He's like, there's a band with Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, Chris Christopherson, and Willie Nelson. How could this be anything but awesome? And this is how progressive our video channel was in Canada. There was MTV and we had Much Music. Between 84, 85, and 89 or so, the things like The Highwaymen, this video, it would play in regular rotation next to the pop hits of the day. And, then they would have some kind of off-the-wall alternative things. This was in regular rotation. And I believe it made the video charts, this single. So that's where I first saw it. And my dad, this was my dad's. I kind of inherited his stuff. And he loved The Highwayman. So this is, and I always loved this song, although it wasn't cool to tell anyone. So, anyways, The Highwayman, I could have pulled the full album, but this single is kind of monumental to me and meaningful to me. Anyways. Next is another 7-inch. This is Dolly Parton's Jolene. I could have pulled the full album. You might recall I have a copy of the full album I found not too long ago. But Jolene In fact, I have a video on my channel. It's me playing Jolene Slowed Down, which is my highest viewed video. This is like one of my first videos I ever did before I started making vinyl videos. I think Jolene is maybe one of the best written songs ever. Not just country, of all time. I mean, how many covers of that song are there out there? That tells you something. But Jolene, it's one of the most, I mean, if you break the lyrics down, it's just, and the way the song's constructed and the sentiment and the way she sings it, it's definitely, I think, one of the best written songs of all time. And I know the song's beloved by people, but I don't know if it gets credit for being such a well-written song. Anyways, I want to put a vote in for Dolly Parton's Jolene. All right. Highway and Wind was my dad's. Jolene was my pick. This is another one of my dad's pick. Johnny Cash at San Quentin. This is a pick from my dad. There was a period where Johnny Cash was not cool. It's. I know since he died, or since he started making those Deaf American albums, or American on those Rick Rubin albums, he kind of got a, he had another renaissance. But there was a time in the '80s for a long stretch that he was not cool, and he struggled. He had his hardcore fan base, but he didn't have that wide acceptance like he had, around this time. And then later on when he made those Rick Rubin albums. But my dad always stuck through thick and thin with Johnny. And it was one of those things that he would play, and it's like, it's, I was young. That's not cool. Why are you playing Johnny Cash for, Dad? Like I said, I grew up with all that stuff. But he stuck with Johnny through thick and thin. And, like I said, it's one of those things where I grew up with it, and it's just kind of ingrained in me. I've talked about this before, Billy. So I want to show Johnny Cash's Live at San Quentin, an album my dad loved, and he loved all of Johnny Cash, and I got to give mad respect because he never wavered from things he loved. I mean, the man loved Charlie Rich in the 80s. How cool is it to like Charlie Rich in the 80s? It wasn't, but he stuck with the guys that he loved from the 70s through the 80s to the 90s. He loved them all, and he never wavered from that. There might be two more, Billy. I'm sorry. I think it's only supposed to be four. Give me an extra entry. Come on. A lot of people don't know this. This is one of those things I hope people discover about me. I like these girls. I like the Dixie Chicks. And I worked in retail when they kind of first exploded for that first album. That early stuff I'm not fond of. I saw that Dixie Chicks documentary. It's called Shut Up and Sing. And I got a whole other perspective on the band. And I just totally respect them and Natalie Maines. I mean, that might not be the most popular sentiment, but I just, man, what they went through and through their convictions. And then I thought, and anyways, I could go on and on about that, but that's what kind of got me into them anyways. And this is my favorite album, is Taking the Long Way. This has my favorite Dixie Chicks song, Not Ready to Make Nice. But The Long Way Around is amazing. I mean, the whole album's amazing. I mean, I think it's one of those, I think they're later albums. It's too bad they're not making albums no more. It's albums that you don't, and it's like, and they still kept their country roots, not like Taylor Swift, who kind of abandoned it all. Even though they kind of they changed their image a bit, they still retained that country base. And this is, like I said, this is my favorite Dixie Chicks album. Something that you might not know that I like is I love these little girls here, Dixie Chicks. All right, one last one, Billy. Country Mike's Greatest Hits. It's the Beastie Boys do country. How can you not like that? Anyways, Country Mike's Greatest Hits. That should give me 5 entries, Billy. I'm kidding. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this up now. It was a lot of fun pulling these albums and kind of deciding really quickly what albums to show. And going through the country ones was kind of a real I don't go through my dad's records very often, but going through them was a real trip. I could have showed 20 albums of my dad's country stuff. But anyways, Billy, I hope you liked the video. It's my pleasure to enter your contest. And happy 44th. And I wish you the best. And we'll talk soon. And take care, everyone. This has been David. We'll see you next time. I didn't sniffle a whole lot.